One of the undisputed stars of the 2021 Formula 1 season has been Lando Norris, who might even be having the best campaign of any driver. Norris's season is so impressive he's in contention for a quite remarkable achievement, beating a Red Bull and a Mercedes to third in the Drivers' Championship. At its peak, McLaren can rival those teams in qualifying, but it's usually a distant third best in races and sometimes even fourth best behind Ferrari. So how's Lando pulling off this giant-killing feat? Well, after the British Grand Prix, he admitted, "I've got no idea." Well, don't worry Lando, because that's what we're here for. While we're explaining his brilliant season, make sure you have your say in the comments, and if you feel like showing our video some love, hit the thumbs up button at your leisure. McLaren and Norris are enjoying a tremendous 2021 season in which the young Brit has scored 3 podiums. 10 races into a season where Red Bull and Mercedes still have a significant performance advantage, that's a very good strike rate up against 4 faster cars. Especially when you consider the fact McLaren's not always been best of the rest in qualifying. In fact, it took until round 7 for the lead McLaren to outqualify the lead Ferrari. But Norris's podiums have come in different ways, showcasing different parts of his evolving skill set as a Formula 1 driver. At Imola, he earned his podium via a comeback. He was patient in the difficult wet opening stint after a deleted best lap in qualifying put him lower down the top 10, then he was aggressive after the restart on slicks. In Monaco, he was miles quicker than teammate Daniel Ricciardo and earned his place in the top 5 in qualifying on merit, then benefited from the misfortune of Charles Leclerc and Bottas to inherit third in the race. A flawless drive under pressure from Perez locked down the second podium. And in Austria, Norris fought the 2 Mercedes drivers on merit after qualifying on the front row. He might even have finished second in that race without a time penalty for forcing Perez off track. But there is a record beyond the podiums that is even more impressive. It speaks to his incredible form and is the real reason he's third in the championship. Norris's consistency this season is quite astonishing. He has 9 top 5 finishes in 10 races at the time of recording this video and is on a run of points finishes stretching back 15 Grand Prix, the best run of any driver. He's also the only driver with a 100% scoring record this year. Norris knows that in normal circumstances, with the Mercedes and Red Bull drivers maximising their equipment or even just getting close to doing that, he's fighting for a distant 5th. But his season is defying the pecking order for a reason. All he can do is be there if something happens to any of the leading 4 cars, and he's doing that almost without exception, which is why he has an outrageous record of top 5 finishes and a few podiums to boot. It's also why he's turning an average qualifying position of 6.2 into an average finish of 4.5. By layering that consistency with seriously high peaks, Norris has made himself a formidable opponent on any given Sunday and in the championship. Norris returned to third in the Drivers' Championship after the British Grand Prix despite finishing in 4th behind Bottas because Red Bull driver Perez endured a miserable weekend and failed to score a point. Silverstone was a neat summary of why Norris is in this championship position. He's driving excellently with that potent combination of consistency and high peaks, while the drivers he shouldn't even be competing with are dropping points. Perez banked his first Red Bull win in Azerbaijan and followed that up with a strong podium in France. But what looked like a breakthrough in his first season alongside Max Verstappen has since stalled. He admits his results aren't what he expected to be at this stage, and the anticipated 1-lap deficit to Verstappen in qualifying is still very clear. Sometimes that has given Perez too much work to do on Sundays, like in Monaco, but Perez hasn't helped himself with inconsistent race performances, like his messy Austrian Grand Prix that featured clashes with Norris and 2 with Leclerc, and then spinning in the sprint race at Silverstone, which wrecked his entire weekend. Bottas, meanwhile, is yet to win a race in 2021. He's a more consistent fixture at the front than Perez, but isn't the threat he wants to be in the Grand Prix. In fact, for the last 3 races, Bottas has been muted to the point of being lucky to have beaten Norris at all. Several races this season have shown Bottas' weaknesses. He isn't the nailed-on Saturday performer he has been in the past, which is why he was out-qualified by Norris at the Red Bull Ring. And he has been found wanting at times in races. In the rain at Imola, he was nowhere, which is why Bottas was left racing a Williams when he had that crash with George Russell. In Azerbaijan, Bottas had a miserable weekend with no performance at the height of Mercedes street circuit struggles, and he was mugged at the start at Silverstone, which is how he ended up behind Charles Leclerc. That last example is a particularly chastening one for Bottas, because in a race where Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton collide, Bottas should be winning. Instead, he was beaten by a Ferrari and lucky to inherit a podium ahead of a McLaren when Norris's slow pit stop dropped him out of a net second place. None of this detracts from the quality of Norris's own season, but even at his best, he wouldn't be third in the championship without the number 2s at the top teams delivering inconsistently. As Norris finds new peaks in 2021, there are signs that he's no longer satisfied with the previous successes. Norris finished one place ahead of teammate Daniel Ricciardo at Silverstone, putting both McLarens in the top 5. It marked McLaren's second biggest points haul of the season, 1 point short of its tally from Imola, where Norris finished on the podium, and is also one of McLaren's best results since the end of 2014. But Norris described it as a bit of damage limitation, given chief championship rival Ferrari could have won the Grand Prix, but instead only outscored McLaren by 4 points. It was an interesting phrase to describe one of McLaren's best results of the year, and it follows Norris admitting his frustration in Austria only a few weeks ago after finishing 5th when he had qualified 3rd. At the Styrian Grand Prix, Norris had outperformed Bottas and Perez in qualifying yet again before their car advantage bailed them out in the Grand Prix. In that race, the lead McLaren was also lapped for the first time this season. It was a hint of the reality that is keeping the team and its driver grounded in their pursuit of Red Bull and Mercedes. But Norris has indicated that the more he occupies the best of the rest position, the more it isn't enough. He and McLaren both want more, and so even as this pretty remarkable run of form continues, some frustration is creeping in. In the Styrian Grand Prix, it was over the big gaps to the cars ahead after such a strong qualifying result. In the Austrian Grand Prix, it was over the 5-second penalty for forcing Perez off track that dropped Norris behind Bottas and, he felt, cost him a career-best second place. And in the British Grand Prix, it was over being denied the chance to fight Bottas for a home podium. So for a while now, Norris has been left addressing a feeling of underlying disappointment, even though he's still happy with the results themselves. The frustration of not being able to achieve something slightly greater, for whatever reason, seems to be biting more and more. Even F1 sporting boss Ross Brawn has noticed, stating after the Grand Prix that Lando was disappointed with 4th shows how far he and his McLaren team have come of late, and his performance is a nice reflection on the progress he has made. If anything, that's underselling the job Norris did at Silverstone and the job he's done in 2021. But what do you make of his season so far? If 2021 ended now, where would he rank in your top 10 drivers? Have your say in the comments, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and if it's your first time checking out our channel, then we'd love for you to subscribe as well and join us again in the future.